Yes, sir, we're officially back at it. This is Boog Nice coming at you with the Marvel Legends Vintage Wave Punisher figure review. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini matey, I'm fucking with them. Hype beast, we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about you.
Alright, so we got Frank Castle, the Punisher, out of the package, and I'm pretty happy with this figure. I was happy with the original release, the Walgreens exclusive Punisher. I thought it was a very nice figure. I was happy that they introduced this figure on this particular buck. This was the buck that they originally used for the Grim Reaper figure. It was a new buck at that particular time when they introduced Grim Reaper. It seems like they may have upgraded some things on this buck and fixed one of the major issues with it. As I've been messing around with this guy, I do feel like they may have made some minor modifications to this buck. So I'll get into that in a second when I go over the articulation. Just taking a look at this head sculpt before I pop this off and show you the additional head. This one differs a little bit from the version that we got with the Walgreens exclusive, which is back there in the foreground. I'll show that closer in a moment. But this one does not have the 5 o'clock shadow or the kind of red dope fiend rings around his eye. I don't know what they were doing with that first guy, but I would have liked to see maybe the 5 o'clock shadow on this guy without the red rings around the eye, but not too many issues with this aside from some extra plastic here on the left side of his face, on the right side of his face, excuse me. I might have to just take to that with the X-Acto and take that little imperfection off. I don't see too many paint imperfections through this guy. Everything is pretty clean down to the white boots, black and white. Not too much going on as far as the deco, but let's swap this head out real quick. And this is the additional head that he comes with. He's got the red bandana. He's out here bicking back, being Boo. And yeah, that looks good. So this one differs from the original version because he's got the red bandana instead of the white. And this one has a little stubble, a little 5 o'clock shadow on the chin, whereas the original version with the white did not have that. And I like this. It looks good. You can see that sort of wind-swept look for the tails of the bandana, which I don't know. I kind of wish this was articulated and you can kind of put them down to the side. But I guess every shot that you take or setup that you do, you got to kind of make it like the wind is blowing. But this looks good. I like it. And then aside from that, his only other accessory is this rocket launcher, which looks to be the same rocket launcher that we got with Drax from the Guardians of the Galaxy wave. I think it was the most recent release of Drax suit. This just looks like it's painted differently, but correct me if I'm wrong. Honestly, I like the look of the other rocket launcher more. I guess I'll go over the articulation real quick before I get into some swaps and some comparisons. But again, like I mentioned, this is the Grim Reaper buck, so the shoulders will come up just about that far. And one of the things that I was talking about towards the beginning of the video was I do believe they may have modified this shoulder a bit. And some of the early releases of figures on this buck, it seems like the shoulders were rubbing at this part here, and it was kind of hard to bring the arm up. I don't really see that happening on this one, so I'm thinking they may have made a little modification. I know that was something that a lot of people complained about, but you're not going to get the shoulders to go up that far out anyway, but they will do a full 360 if you need them to. You do get an upper bicep swivel, a double jointed elbow, you get a wrist swivel and a hinge on the wrist. And another thing that they did is they actually gave this guy the trigger fingers, so you don't have to take to his hand with an X-Acto and kind of separate that trigger finger. It is actually there for you. I haven't tested it out just yet. I need to put a gun in his hand, but at least that was a nice addition that they made. You get a T-joint at the pelvis. The legs will come up just about that far. Split will only look like that. You get an upper thigh swivel, just really tight. And you get a double jointed knee. You get rotation at the upper boot. You get a hinge and a pivot on the foot. So a good range of motion on Frank. And taking a closer look at the two side by side. On the left, I have the original stock version of the Walgreens exclusive. I do have another version that I kind of did some minor kit bashing on, which I'll show in a moment, but this is the stock version. This is how it came stock. Pretty much the body is the same, but this belt is different here, and on the new one this is more comic accurate with just the white and black. I didn't really particularly care for this chest harness and the brown belt here, and I was thinking about swapping this off or painting it at some point. And on my other one I did take the chest harness off because I wanted it to be more comic accurate, more of a classic Punisher, and that's pretty much what we got here with this new vintage wave version. And then you can see the head sculpts here, and you can see the difference here. Like I said, 5 o'clock shadow and the red rings around the eye on original version. This one is more clean shaven without the rings, and I do like this head sculpt a little better, although I would have liked to see a 5 o'clock shadow on this particular head. But yeah, they look good. The only other thing that this newer version could have done, or they could have done on this newer version, was kind of give the costume maybe like a bluish hue, which it was kind of drawn or painted that way in the comics at some point with the classic costume with sort of like a little bluish hue and the black. Maybe we might see that at some point. Then taking a look at the alternate head sculpt side by side, again on the original Walgreens exclusive version, he had the white bandana, which I would prefer on this newer version, so I will swap that out in a second and give you a look at that. But the faces differ in the skin tones. I didn't really mention that with the other two faces. Those skin tones are not too much different. I feel like these are a bit more different, but he looks a little darker on this vintage wave version. Same thing with the Wolverine, which I reviewed yesterday. His skin tone is a little darker than the original. Looks like he got a tan, or maybe he's Dominican, Frank Castle. But the actual sculpt is pretty much the same, but he's got the tan and the 5 o'clock shadow on this newer version here. I'm gonna swap the two real quick. Alright, so you got the pretty much the stock version of the Walgreens exclusive Punisher on the left. I do think these are actually the hands that I exacto. So aside from that, that's the stock version with the new head sculpt from this vintage wave Punisher on that. And then in the middle you have the vintage wave Punisher with the Walgreens exclusive alternate head. And then on the right, the semi kit bash version where I took off the chest harness. This is a semi kit bash version of the Walgreens exclusive, another Walgreens exclusive Punisher, where I took the chest harness off and I swapped out his boots for the Series 4 Toy Biz Punisher boots. And then he's got the Epic Heroes head, I believe. This is one of those Epic Heroes head. I don't remember if this is the one with the Thunderbolts version or the regular one. You let me know. But yeah, so like I said, I'm really digging the white bandana and the stock look in the middle here. Again, I do think that is the most comic accurate. I do feel like he's appeared with the red bandana at some point. And one other thing to mention is that this new rocket launcher here that comes with this newer version, there's no way for you to peg it in the back, so that's another reason why I like the original rocket launcher too. And the trigger fingers do work. These are the new hands that come with the trigger fingers already separated, although I do feel like I like my trigger fingers that I had to exacto better. This is a regular Marvel Legends scaled pistol here, and his left hand, this is the pistol that came with the chick from the A-Force box set. And then this is the Mezco Punisher MP5. It looks like he's stretching his finger just a little bit, so I don't know. I like the way my other trigger fingers look and work, honestly, a little bit better, but at least they did make that upgrade. Yeah, man, definitely a must own. This is definitely the look that I'm going with here with the white bandana with the classic look. So, I mean, I guess if you missed out on the Walgreens version, you did still kind of miss out, because if you don't have this particular head sculpt to pop on the body of the new vintage wave version, then you are kind of missing out a bit. But again, this is the more classic look. It looks great. It's a great buy. You know, this wave is starting to show up everywhere across the states, across America. I'm not sure if it showed up overseas just yet, but I've seen quite a few people copping them. So get out there and get on the hunt. Oh, real quick before I get out of here, let me show this. I forgot to show in the Wolverine review yesterday. Now, for one, I forgot to mention that if you have the old Dokken figure, you could kind of maybe finagle that and use that as an unmasked or as the cowl for the body of the Juggernaut Build-A-Figure wave. The browns sort of match up, but it's just this alternate color that's not really matching up here, but you can finesse it from the front. So this is the Juggernaut Build-A-Figure wave Wolverine with the Dokken cowl and the head from the Vintage series Wolverine here. And then just to show this off, because I didn't show any like custom stuff from the Wolverine review, this is the Mace shelf or sculptor shelf head here, and that's how it looks on the new Vintage wave body. The skin tones don't match up identically, but you know, it works. You can finesse it for sure, and that looks very good. So yeah, Punisher is dope. I would definitely recommend this. Get out there, find them. Thanks for hanging out. As always, rate, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.